Hello everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at recently named Winter Storm Pearl, which we already have blizzard warnings in place. I talked a lot about those blizzard warnings yesterday, as well as the severe weather yesterday. We're only going to be going over the winter storm side of things. Today we're not going to be going over the severe weather. Again, I did cover that in yesterday's video, so you can go check that out if you want to know more about the severe weather. Most of the information is still up to date. Now we're going to be going over my personal forecast in this video. I'll have my snowfall, rainfall, and storm track forecast in this video at the end of the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. So let's start off here with your National Weather Service page. We have some blizzard warnings in place there for Nebraska and into Wyoming. That's where you could have some gusty winds, continuous gusty winds with winds around 35 miles per hour. You're going to have blowing snow. You already have a little bit of snowpack in place over central Nebraska, which we'll look at in just a little bit. So you will have some blowing snow as well, and snowfall accumulations in those areas will be around 6 inches of snowfall in some of those higher amounts. And again, as you get into the Rockies, you're probably going to see maybe a foot to maybe a foot and a half. Winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings surrounding that right there. And then we have some winter storm watches, winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings for the Rockies. And other than those winter storm warnings and winter weather alerts, you're just pretty quiet for the rest of the nation. But I do think this map is going to fill in eventually as this system continues to move to the east. So here's your surface analysis map from the Weather Prediction Center. And you're seeing we have two low pressure systems or three low pressure systems. We have a very weak low pressure system. This is your leading low pressure system. Then you have this more powerful group of low pressure systems out in Idaho. Now this is going to be your main low pressure system. It's going to be moving to the east, and it's going to be delivering some pretty good snowfall on that northwestern side of this storm track, which we'll go over in just a little bit. So here's what your European model is forecasting in terms of precipitation type. Now you're going to see this lead system, and this is what you were looking at in terms of this system right here. This is your clipper system that you're gonna see. So right here, this is your leading low, and that's gonna be a much weaker system, and it's gonna be to the north. That won't be taken into account as we get into my personal snowfall forecast. It'll just be this system that's happening over areas into the plains. So let's continue with this. This would be by tomorrow early in the morning. You're seeing quite a bit of snowfall up in the northern plains for North Dakota and northernmost Minnesota, but you start to see the origination of this system right here over Colorado, Utah, and it's still snowing there as you get into Idaho there in the higher elevations. Now as we continue this, you start to see a little bit of rain on the front side, but as you get later on Thursday night, you're going to start to see heavy snowfall, darker blues indicating heavy snowfall there over Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, and then even going through the Dakotas there. That would be by Thursday morning or Thursday night, and now getting to Friday morning, you're starting to see it move through. Now this could be a very quick moving system. So areas, if you're not in western Nebraska, eastern Wyoming, or in the Rockies, you're not going to see too much snowfall, more than an inch or two of snowfall, and you'll see that in my snowfall forecast at the end of the day, at the end of the video. Now this would be for Friday morning. You're seeing some snowfall move through Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska. This would be right around your commute time Friday morning. And then as we continue this, it starts to move over to the east. So let's look at what your snowfall totals out of this event would be. And you're seeing we have quite a bit of snowfall as you get out into areas into Nebraska, Wyoming, through areas into Colorado, and a little bit there of Utah. You're seeing over 6 inches anywhere in those purple. And then as you get into the pinks, that's about 10 to 20 inches. And as you get into these lighter pinks, you're seeing about 20 to 30 inches. And if you do get into the blues, that's about 30 to 40, and maybe even 40 to 50 inches of snowfall in those higher elevations. But you do see that it's a very thin band of snowfall. And as you get past Nebraska, it's generally on the order of about 1 to 3 inches, and maybe a couple locations could see 3 to 6 inches or a little bit more out of this. And this would be going through the day on Friday. Now here's what your National Weather Service is putting out in terms of its snowfall. You will actually have some back-end snowfall that you weren't seeing on the map. That's some back-end snowfall as the system moves by. You will actually see a couple of snow showers. So that would be there for Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and then going through upstate New York, and then through into Massachusetts and Connecticut, and those are mainly in those higher elevation regions of those states. Now, you do see for the where the bulk of this storm is going to happen. National Weather Service indicating maybe 3 to 6 inches. I think the European model is overdoing it, and you'll see that reflected on my snowfall forecast. You're seeing general 3 to 6 inches, and then as you get into the mountainous terrain, you actually could see 6 to as much as maybe 30 inches of snowfall out of this event. Now, let's start looking at your snow depth, and this is going to play into your blizzard conditions that are currently ongoing. You see, we don't actually have that much snow depth, and a blizzard doesn't mean that you actually have to have falling snow while you have those gusty winds. You could just have blowing snow. Sometimes you see those over the plains for just some blowing snow, especially as you get into areas like Montana, North Dakota, northern Minnesota. Sometimes you actually see just some blowing snow, and that indicates a blizzard warning. So it can be a little bit misleading. In this case, it's all going to be from the falling snow for the most part, except if they do put those blizzard warnings for central Nebraska. You really have a little bit, very marginal snowfall cover there, maybe 2 to 3 inches in the highest amounts. But for the rest of the storm track, you're not seeing any snowfall for the most part, and most of the snowpack is to the north, you have had a very, very warm winter this winter, and that's really melted away most of that snowfall. You do have a little bit of snow there in the Rockies, of course, from those higher elevation regions, but those areas don't look to get as gusty of winds. Now, here's your current wind forecast. This is your sustained wind, so wind gusts will, of course, be a little bit higher, most likely right around 30 to 40 miles per hour. And really, what's going to play a role into this is how frequent are those gusts of 30 or 35 mile per hour wind gusts, and that's going to play a role into whether you see blizzard conditions or not. Right now, I'm just looking at your sustained wind speeds, because one of the criteria for a blizzard warning to be in place is to have sustained winds of about 35 miles per hour or so, or frequent gusts of 35 or more miles per hour. Now, this would be by Thursday morning. You're seeing a little bit of that of those greens pop up on the map. That's indicating 20 to 30 knots, and that would be about 25 to 35 miles per hour. And I'm sorry that we have to use the knots. They don't have in miles per hour, so it's a little bit of an inconvenience. But I'll definitely help you guys with that conversion. Usually, when you get into that lightest shade of green, that's your blizzard conditions, and then of course as you get into those, or that would be your 35 mile per hour mark, which would be your blizzard conditions. And as you get into the oranges, the yellows, the reds, and then even into the browns, that's of course well above that. Now, this would be by Thursday afternoon. Now getting to Thursday night, you're seeing a little bit of those lighter greens pop up through Nebraska and Colorado and Kansas. These are sustained winds of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Even if you don't get 35 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour sustained, coming straight out of the north, as you can tell by those lines with the arrows. That's indicating the direction of those winds. It's going to be a very brutal cold wind, and it's going to be coming straight out of the north. You're going to have sustained winds of about 25 to about 35 miles per hour, and even if you have only sustained winds of 25 miles per hour, definitely is going to reduce your visibilities to under a mile if you have some blowing snow, or you have that falling snow that is also blowing from those winds. So this would be by Friday morning, probably the height of the system for areas into Nebraska and Kansas, but mainly as you get further south of Nebraska, and as you get into Kansas, Missouri, southeastern Iowa, and so on, you're really just going to be rain. So it's going to be some blowing rain, I guess you could say. And then as you continue this, the winds really die down as you get farther and farther from that low pressure system. So here's your current, or here's my personal snowfall forecast and your rainfall forecast as well. Here's your storm track. You have that low pressure again over northern Utah, southern Idaho. This is going to be a system going from today, which would be the 18th, all the way through the 20th, which would be Friday, and potentially extending there into the early part on Saturday, which would be the 21st. So here is your first layer. This is going to be your mountain snow, and this is going to be for areas into Idaho, southernmost Montana, through much of Wyoming, the western halves of New Mexico and Colorado, as well as there for Utah, seeing some mountain snow. And really, I can't pinpoint exactly how much you're going to see on this map. You can go check out your National Weather Service page. It is so elevation dependent in those regions that's almost impossible to pinpoint exactly who will be seeing how much. Now, here's your under 1 inch to 3 inch snowfall, and this can be over a large portion of where the storm is tracking. It's going to be for areas into Colorado, Wyoming, through Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and through Minnesota, Wyoming, the northern parts of Michigan, and then through areas into the mountainous terrain of the Northeast. Could be seeing under 1 inch to 3 inches of snowfall there, and then 3 to 6 inches of snowfall also there for Wyoming, Colorado, through Nebraska, through South Dakota, Iowa, and then even into southwestern Minnesota. Could be poking at about 3 to 6 inches, and I think those 6 inch plus amounts will be there for western areas into Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, and northern Colorado. I didn't add a 6 to 12 inch region, which I would if I thought you were going to see a more widespread 6 inch snowfall or greater, because it's not going to be as widespread as well. It's going to be for a very limited area, and that's one of those harder things to pinpoint. So I don't want to put an exact 6 to 12 inch region, but no, over western Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, northeastern Colorado, and also as you get into the higher elevations of the Rockies, you could definitely see 6 or more inches of snowfall, but it's going to be more scattered 6+ inch snowfalls. Now here's your rainfall. Under 1 inch of rainfall expected pretty much everywhere east of this low pressure system, except for Florida, that really. But other than that, everybody else is going to be seeing at least under 1 inch of snowfall of rainfall, at least any type of precipitation. Now 1 to 2 inches of rainfall there, stretching from Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, through Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, through Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and then through into Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and then through the Northeast. So New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, all seeing 1 to 2 inches of rainfall there, and then 2 to 3 inches of rainfall for areas into western Pennsylvania, southern parts of Indiana and Ohio, as well as northern West Virginia and into much of Kentucky there, seeing 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Now that is going to wrap up the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.